Hey everybody, JokerFett here with another episode of To The Mancave. Well, this time, it's a very special episode to me, and of course all these episodes are special to me because I feel inspired to talk about a subject for any length of time. And today we take a very special look at Batman the Animated Series, which pretty much, if you've watched my other videos, then you know that this kind of evolved out of a question that I got in my Q&A last weekend, where Busy Forever, one of my mates from the 501st fan group, asked me how did I get into Batman. And I said pretty much the simplest answer: Batman the Animated Series. And so we're going to go talking about that in this episode. First off, though, I'd like to just say now I do have a Facebook page for JokerFett, for my YouTube stuff, and so if you want to like that page, I'd be very grateful. I'll have a link in the description if you want to do that. And so anyway, enough chitter chatter. On to the subject, of course. Batman the Animated Series. I mean, what else is there to say? It's just an amazing show. Definitely my favorite cartoon of all time. And it's one of those cartoons that transcends being the ordinary, like, oh, this is some dumb fun for kids. Like some of the more modern cartoons are nowadays. And it just transcends that, and it actually tells deep, meaningful stories while not going, like, off the deep end, Christopher Nolan kind of dark. But it still retains its own humor and its own charm and its own great art style, and just the characters are so wonderful. And so I just want to talk about that. First off is Batman. And just to tell you, like, the profound impact of Batman the Animated Series is that whenever you hear Batman in most anything nowadays, outside of the live-action movies, we hear him in, like, a cartoon, animated movies, video games. They usually use the same voice actors from Batman the Animated Series, with a few exceptions. Batman, Kevin Conroy did an amazing job voicing Batman, and he was the first person to really introduce the whole, like, aspect of Batman having a different voice than Bruce Wayne, which some of you guys may know about this YouTuber K-Wing. He's a gamer. He does informative walkthroughs, let's plays, whatever, and that's a quote. And he's a huge Batman fan. And I love to watch his Arkham City Wednesdays videos, because pretty much where he just takes some gameplay from Arkham City that he recorded, and he just sits there and talks about Batman lore and trivia and stuff, and just awesome stuff for you Bat fans out there. And I love that he brought this point up, which I think is very valid, of how Kevin Conroy was really the first person to differentiate the voice between Batman and Bruce Wayne. And he brought the example of, like, Adam West. Adam West, in the 1960s show, and I'm not trying to dump on him or anything, but his Batman and his Bruce Wayne were indistinguishable. I mean, he even had the exact same, like, body movements and mannerisms as Batman and as Bruce Wayne. Well, of course, that was a different, kind of thing they were going for. I mean, they didn't really intend to have, like, this big difference between, he was just like a cheery Batman and Robin. But however, in the animated series, they took, of course, a darker tone, taking after the then recently made Tim Burton movies. And they didn't go as dark as Tim Burton did, because obviously this is on television and this is made for kids and stuff. So, but they still kept those dark elements and stuff, and one of them was kind of introducing how, Batman would have a deeper, more menacing, commanding voice than, the ordinary playboy billionaire Bruce Wayne. And so I think that's pretty much a really important contribution that Kevin Conroy has made to the Batman mythos. Now, pretty much everything that you see on TV or in the movies, there's a big difference between the mannerisms and the voice of Batman versus Bruce Wayne. I mean, can you imagine like Christopher Nolan's Batman movies if Christian Bale had the same kind of tone of voice as he did as when he was Batman as he did when he was playing Bruce Wayne? I mean, yeah, I don't even think I can imagine it now. We wouldn't have the I'm Batman, blah, 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 a voice to make fun of. So obviously, very, very important contributions, and Kevin Conroy did again an amazing job portraying Bruce Wayne and Batman. He really got that duality between the characters. You could tell it really feels meaningful when you hear and see Batman go through different emotions and stuff. There's a few occasions during the show, where Batman's sad, and that's not something that you see Batman do a lot, obviously. Usually, he's just the tough, solemn type, but whenever you do see these down moments for Batman and Bruce Wayne, it really connects with you because he just really sells the performance. You actually feel like this person is going through hell. And it's just really, really awesome voice work. I mean, I can't really... what more can I say about Kevin Conroy? Moving along, kind of the voice cast, amazing voice cast overall. And I'm sure as many of you know, especially if you're a Star Wars fan, one of the other big voice actors on the animated series was, of course, Mark Hamill, who played the Joker. And so it's kind of funny that I grew up with Mark Hamill playing my favorite hero and playing my favorite villain, or one of them at least, because it's just I didn't honestly know that Mark Hamill did the voice of the Joker until several years ago now. But after I had watched the show, several years after I'd first seen it and stuff, because it was that much of a difference. He wasn't just doing his ordinary voice. He really got into it, and especially if you watch the special features on the DVDs and stuff, they'll show you the footage of Mark Hamill in the recording booth, and how he really gets in the character. He's standing up in his chair making these crazy arm movements, and he has these weird grimaces or grins on his face, and he's just whenever he voices the Joker, he plays the Joker in real life too. I mean, it's just crazy how well he gets into character, and a really, really amazing performance. Mark Hamill was just extremely talented. It's a real shame though that after the Star Wars trilogy, of course, he kind of got typecast as many of the cast members did. As the big space hero kind of character, and so I would love to see him in more of a more dynamic roles during pretty much the prime of his life in the 70s and 80s and stuff. But he did have an amazing comeback in the 90s doing the voice of the Joker. And pretty much he's been playing the Joker ever since. I mean, come on, it's 20 years and he's still doing the voice of the Joker. Obviously, going through all of the Bruce Timm DC animated shows and movies, spin-offs, whatever, and through many of the video games, including, obviously, Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, which Mark Hamill stated in an interview that I read that Arkham City would be the last time that he portrayed Joker, which is a shame, but it's kind of fitting, since, spoiler alert for Arkham City, so turn away now if you've not seen it, that, the Joker died in Arkham City. And when the Joker died in Arkham City, I felt sad. And that sounds absolutely insane, feeling sad for the death of a psychotic madman clown. But, it's it felt especially with the knowledge that this would be the last time Mark Hamill would play the Joker, it really felt like the death of something very important from my childhood. And so, I was actually had this kind of like aura of like, I was kind of like down for several days at least. I just kind of had that hanging over me. I was like, I don't really feel good today, because it's just like whenever I've known Mark Hamill as the Joker for all of my life, pretty much ever since I first got into Batman. The animated series, he was the Joker. And so now it's like he's just not going to be the Joker anymore, so the Joker's gone forever, But he has said that he would consider coming back to the role of the Joker if the script was good. And it's kind of weird if you've heard the rumors for the Arkham City sequel plans, that it's going to be a prequel set in the Silver Age or something, and it's going to be like about Batman's first encounter with the Joker and him like meeting the Justice. It doesn't really sound good in my opinion. I know I'm kind of going off topic now, talking about something else, but and Paul Dini, who was a very important writer on the animated series, has said that he's not going to write that game. So the chances of Mark Hamill coming back for Arkham 3 or whatever they're going to name it are pretty slim right now. So yeah, I just kind of went off on a tangent right there about Mark Hamill's Joker, which is very important, going back to the animated series, and his character in the animated series has kind of changed. If you look at like his performance as the Joker in the very early beginnings of the animated series, and then kind of compare, of course, like his appearances in the Justice League, you see like character progression of how he's gradually become darker and darker. Because the episode, what was it called, in the Justice League show by Bruce Timm again, fantastic. I'll talk about later in the video about how all these different shows have spawned from the animated series. But it was called, I forget, what was it, Wild Cards? Something like that? Something like that. Joker's Wild, that's what it was called. And so I love that, I think it was a three-parter episode or something. Three-parter episode of the Justice League, featuring Joker as the main villain, which was awesome. It's like, my favorite villain from the animated series is coming into a Justice League episode. And so pretty much he like holds the Vegas Strip hostage and stuff, and he's got the Royal Flush Gang as his kind of minion underlings and stuff. And the end of that trilogy of episodes is really dark, especially what happens to Joker. It's like, oh my goodness, it's kind of horrifying. And then in another episode where it was a Brave New World was the name of the episode, where they kind of show an alternate future where the Justice League has kind of become like the dictators of the world, and they like the regular Justice League gets transported to the alternate future and stuff, and they're in Gotham City, and it's like all clean, bright and shiny in the daytime. And then they go to Arkham Asylum and stuff, and like all of Batman's rogues gallery are there, except for they've been pretty much lobotomized. And so they're like vegetables and stuff, and then they show the Joker and stuff. It's like, oh my goodness, it's kind of horrible. It's horrifying and thing. So yeah, it definitely got a little darker towards the end. But I guess that's kind of fitting, seeing as how the kids who would have watched the animated series, like in the 90s, the early 90s and stuff, then all the way through the New Adventures and then Justice League and stuff, they're growing up too, so they can handle this kind of stuff. And so just really, really awesome things. I know I've kind of strayed away from the topic of the animated series, to Bruce Timm's animated universe in general. But again, awesome characters. I don't really want to, because I could like talk forever about every one of the characters. Definitely some notable mentions. Alfred. I feel ashamed for forgetting now who voiced Alfred in the animated series, but that's definitely my favorite portrayal of Alfred ever. He got the perfect. It was Alfred Zimbalist something. It's a name that I know it, but I forget. But anyway, he did a great job of like making the perfect balance of like, the refined English professional butler kind of Alfred, and mixing it with, the kind-hearted, fatherly approach and stuff. So that was a very even mix, and I love that. My favorite Alfred ever. The portrayal of Dick Grayson as Robin was pitch perfect, Robin and Batman had both like perfect chemistry, bouncing one-liners off each other and stuff, and seeing, how, he wouldn't always, just be a Batman soldier, he would question his orders and stuff, make some kind of stupid mistakes from time to time and things, because, he was just a kid, and it really, like, he brought a human element to kind of counterbalance Batman's, kind of stone-faced solemnness. And going to the great cast of villains. I don't think there's really a villain in the entire show that I didn't like. Honestly, they were all that good. Because usually when I watch like a show with like reoccurring villains and stuff, especially ones that have like superheroes and things, because that's the prime kind of television show that has recurring villains. There's always like villains that I'm like, nah, I could skip this episode because I don't really give a darn about who the bad guy is. But all the bad guys in the animated series were so good. Even like ones I didn't even know existed beforehand, like the Clock King. They made it such an interesting character that I was like glued to the television screen. And yeah, there's also one I believe that was just created for the animated series, Baby Doll. Whoa. That is... when you're a kid and you watch it, it's perfectly fine, but, like, being older now and going back and watching that episode, it has a really dark and serious undertone, and I really feel that's probably the saddest episode of the entire show for me, just seeing this. It's about this poor child actress. She was a child actress, but then she was in her 20s, and she has this rare genetic condition where she like appears young and she looks pretty much like a little kid for all of her life. And she was when she was like in her 20s and stuff, she was in like a very popular kind of like a Leave It to Beaver kind of series, kind of show, and then like it's like 20 years later and stuff, and she's like kidnapping her former castmates and stuff because, she got typecast and she couldn't find work and stuff, and she was tired of people, treating her like she was a baby and stuff, like, oh, hey, this baby doll and things, and it's just, it really makes you feel for the bad guy. I was kind of hoping that she would get away from Batman in the end of the episode. It was just such a deep and kind of dark episode, and I honestly came very close to tears, and it was just a really tragic story, and they tell it in such an emotional way that when it comes to the climax of the episode, you just like, oh my goodness, it's horrible, like if this character were real, I would want to help them out. And that's what the animated series did best. And, it might have took some liberties with realism, of course, everything's kind of in the Art Deco style, but it brought the characters to life, it's like, you could see them being, just, walking around and stuff, you could see them being, like, actual real people. And so, like, it's just, I felt so bad at the end of that Baby Doll episode. And then in the New Adventures of Batman, which was kind of like the sequel series kind of thing for the animated series, pretty much it was the same cast of characters and story and stuff. They just changed the animation style up a bit to match the Superman the animated series, so they could like do crossovers and stuff without having conflicting art styles. And they did a sequel episode to the Baby Doll episode in that the New Adventures, and that one it wasn't as I didn't get as emotional, of course, in that episode. It was kind of, she had like this weird attraction thing to Killer Croc because they were both like seen as freaks and stuff, and so that was a little weird and goofy. But yeah, the New Adventures overall weren't as good as the animated series. But I'm not here to talk about the New Adventures, obviously. I know I'm getting past 20 minutes here because there's so much to talk about the animated series that it's kind of hard to confine it all in just one episode. And so, yeah, just really, really deep, heartfelt stories. That doesn't mean, though, that there weren't, just the fun-loving stories as well. So that was the great thing, is that they balanced, the seriousness with kind of, the lighthearted happiness. They didn't go too overboard with either one, so they weren't Christopher Nolan and they weren't Adam West. It was kind of in between. And, especially, like some ones, I remember fondly the episode Christmas with the Joker. One of my favorite episodes of the series. And, it's, again, it didn't take itself too seriously. Pretty much the whole premise of that episode was the Joker escapes from Arkham Asylum near Christmas, and he's like hijacked this kind of Christmas special, like the ones you would see on TV and stuff. And he's like hosting a Christmas special, and he's making Batman and Robin cross Gotham, like stopping these disasters and things. And then there's like giant mechanical toy soldiers and a bunch of craziness that you'd see like in the 1950s comics. And that episode was just so much fun, just like watching that. The writing was clever and stuff, and it was just awesome episode. And in case you didn't know, the animated series, you can buy all of these episodes, all of the show, on DVD. There's 4 volumes, 3 of the regular animated series, and the 4th volume is all of the episodes of the New Adventures, which they aren't as good as the animated series, but I still do recommend picking up the New Adventures, because it does continue the story with the characters and stuff, and they are pretty good. Not, like I said, not as good, but they're still good. And so, back on topic, Christmas with the Joker, yeah, again, it was just a really fun episode to watch. That's I'm just kind of like showing you like the two opposite ends of the spectrum there, of the more serious with the lighthearted, and a wide cast of villains. Pretty much, I think they got every villain under the sun in the show, with the notable exception of Hush, because Hush wasn't created until 10 years after the animated series first came out. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm sure that if Hush had been created earlier, he would have definitely been in the animated series. Anyway, moving on to kind of another topic, since I've kind of talked about the episodes themselves and the characters, of what a big kind of impact this had on the superhero television show, or superhero cartoons in general. So obviously, the animated series was a smash hit. It was huge. Awesome. Awesome. It was huge, very successful, got crazy high ratings, and actually won a few Emmys, especially for Heart of Ice, which was Mr. Freeze's first episode. He only appeared in 3 episodes of like the entire show, but they were all very critically acclaimed, and his first episode actually won Paul Dini an Emmy or 2, I believe. So if that tells you, so if that doesn't tell you anything, the show won Emmys. A superhero cartoon show that won Emmys. So yeah, that should tell you something about the quality of it. Anyway, where was I going with this? Oh goodness, now I'm trying to get... Okay, yeah, a huge success, critically acclaimed, huge numbers of people viewing it every week. And so, of course, there would be several spin-offs / continuations of the show. I already talked a little bit in brief about the New Adventures of Batman, which pretty much like I said, it was a continuation of the story, same characters, same voice actors, same everything pretty much, just changed the animation style up a bit. It's like it takes place 2 years after the last episode of the animated series, where some events had transpired. Notably, Dick Grayson, who was Robin, has pretty much split ways with Batman and gone on to become Nightwing. You know, character evolution. Of course, you know he had like he had a falling out with Bruce, and so they kind of just parted ways. Batgirl is kind of now Batman's Robin sidekick character. And then they get Tim Drake, who becomes the new Robin, who's a bit younger than Dick was. And so pretty much they kind of changed that up a bit. Pretty much all the villains returned. I can't think of really a whole lot that didn't. Except for, of course, a few small side characters. But anyway, like I said, the New Adventures, just a continuation of the animated series. There were several animated movies, which again were highly acclaimed for the animated series, and one for the New Adventures. I believe it's just one. For the original animated series, Mask of the Phantasm, which is still regarded as one of the best Batman movies, just Batman movies in general, not even like limiting it to cartoon movies. One of the best movies in general. I'm trying to remember the other ones. Making a fool out of myself. There's the movie with Mr. Freeze, Sub-Zero. That's what it's called, Sub-Zero. And so yeah, Mr. Freeze had 3 episodes of the animated series, or was it 2? And then he had an entire animated movie. Mask of the Phantasm, also, going back to that real quick, was released in theaters. So that was kind of big for its time. Now we get to see animated movies all the time. But like it was big being like a non-Disney movie being released in theaters. I think that was it as far as... I'm sure I'm missing... Am I missing one? I don't know. If one of you guys know if I'm missing an anime movie for the animated series, you let me know. For the New Adventures, there was the Mystery of the Batwoman, and I recently saw that. That was kind of crazy that I hadn't seen that beforehand. I mean, I'm a huge fan of all of the Batman animated series in the Bruce Timm universe, but I hadn't seen that one until like a year ago. So I saw the Mystery of the Batwoman, which was okay. Penguin was kind of like one of the main villains. It's kind of weird story. I don't feel like explaining that because I've been prattling on for a long time. Let's not waste time talking about that kind of stuff. And then, of course, around the same time as the New Adventures, Batman Beyond came out, which I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail about that, because, again, it would have kind of been talking for a while now, and that would just be even longer. And pretty much the whole setup of that was, it's like 50 years after the anime show. Pretty much... Bruce Wayne, the original Batman, pretty much quit being Batman like 30 years ago, 30 years before the events of the show, or is it 20, something like that. And then events transpire. A new what's his face? I'm trying to remember. Terry McGinnis accidentally kind of stumbles into the Batcave. There's a whole like episode of leading up to that. And his father was killed by a corrupt businessman who was in charge of Wayne Enterprises, and he like kind of steals the bat suit, but then Terry and Bruce kind of come to agreement where he'll be the new Batman, and Bruce will be kind of his like advisor, and kind of like somebody kind of like how the Oracle is in the comics, just to be kind of like, advisor, give him information and stuff, look things up, help him out. I need to get a drink of water. Oh, okay, excuse me. See, I was smart, I prepared this time. And so, yeah, a really awesome show. And I think I said this in my Q&A or something, that I really loved the aspect of Batman Beyond because it dared to be something different. You know, it wasn't just a retelling of Batman. They didn't decide to, like, reboot it or anything. Where it's just like, hey, this is Batman. He's going out and punching bad guys. You know, this was, like, something new. It, like, told you what happened to the characters. There's cameo appearances by characters from the original show. They even brought back a few villains. Like Mr. Freeze, he had an episode. And, of course, I can't talk about Batman Beyond without mentioning the amazing Return of the Joker movie. Animated movie. Really awesome stuff. Mark Hamill returned to voice the Joker. Where pretty much, I'm not going to ruin any plot elements in case you haven't seen it. Which, if you haven't seen it, you definitely need to see it. I recommend seeing, like, the unrated version. Because, it's like, the Joker's, his, like, a death scene was, like, changed and things. And by the way, that wasn't a spoiler. Because you just have to watch the movie to find out. Yeah. So, awesome animated movie. Again, Batman Beyond, another series I recommend checking out. Awesome, top-notch stuff. They introduced a bunch of new villains and things. And I think Batman Beyond, I don't know if that's been recognized as the official continuity yet. Or if they're, like, going on the Dark Knight Returns kind of stuff. I don't know. DC, the comic books themselves nowadays are just so convoluted. Pretty much I get all my Batman knowledge from the animated series. So if some things I say about Batman conflict with DC Comics stuff, it's because I go by the animated series. I don't go by wherever the comic books are nowadays. Because now they have the New 52 and all that craziness. It makes no sense. Yeah, and then, of course, the Justice League. A big mention. Of course, pretty much where they... oh yeah, I forgot to mention Superman, the animated series, which that was separate at first, but then they had like World's Greatest or something, and that was a good one. I think they released that as like kind of a DVD movie. It was originally like a few episodes in Superman that they showed on TV, but then Warner like made it a DVD into a movie and stuff. I also recommend buying Superman, the animated series too. Even if you don't really like Superman, it's a very good series. And so World's Finest, that was a good one. And pretty much they combined the Superman and Batman stuff after their individual shows went off air into Justice League, where they had, of course, they brought in Wonder Woman, Hawkgirl, Green Lantern, Flash, and the whole gang, Martian Manhunter. Again, really awesome show. And that eventually kind of, again, they had great episodes. I already talked about Brave New World, which was one of my favorites. And then Justice League kind of evolved into Justice League Unlimited, where pretty much they just threw every DC Comics character they could at it. Just to put it blankly. I mean, like, pretty much they made it so, like, where the Justice League is kind of like, I don't want to say an army, because that makes it sound kind of like militaristic, but like pretty much like, you know, any superhero could join and stuff, and then like they like, you know, depending on where you are, like there'd be like a disaster. Pretty much it was just like an effort to make it so where the Justice League could reach and help more people and stuff. And one of the big characters they had in that show, they kind of started to move further and further away from like the original Justice League characters. I mean, they were still a very important part of the story, but they started, you know, have some story arcs that focused on other characters in the DC Comics. I loved Green Lantern in Justice League Unlimited. He was a really awesome character. You know, he was smart, witty, and stuff. And if they made a Green Arrow, I mean, did I say Green Lantern? I mean Green Arrow. If they made a Green Arrow movie, I would love it to be kind of like how they did in Justice League Unlimited. And another character, Black Canary, of course. You can't have Green Arrow without Black Canary. And the Huntress, she was in there. I'm trying to think of. It's been a little bit since I've watched the episodes of Justice League Unlimited. I've seen the other show. Let me see. It's been a while since I've watched all of the episodes. I have pretty much every. I do have every Bruce Timm DC show on DVD. But it's been a while since I've watched the Justice League episodes. But anyway, yeah, bunch of great characters in Justice League Unlimited, and they had some really cool story arcs. The first season of Justice League Unlimited, I wasn't too hot on. They did the whole Cadmus thing with, like, the government has it out against superheroes. They think that they're like conspiring to take over the planet and stuff. And it's like this Black Ops military unit thing. And it makes a lot of characters that I'd like from like the Superman show, seem kind of dirty, and it just kind of, I don't know, it just kind of like maybe it felt kind of mean-spirited, if that makes any sense. So it was just, I didn't really think, I don't know. The first season of Justice League Unlimited, I still recommend seeing it because it was a good, excellently well-crafted story. It was kind of surprising that they did it on a children's TV show. It's a little dark for that, but anyway. And then the second season of Justice League Unlimited was actually the Legion of Doom. So that, that goes back to kind of like, Super Friends? So yeah, that kind of went back to that, where at first Solomon, or not Solomon, I was about to say Solomon. Can you imagine Solomon Grundy being the head of the Legion of Doom? Gosh. Oh, man. So many DC characters, I forget their names, so many comic characters in general. Gorilla Grodd, he was the first, like, leader of that, and then, like, Lex Luthor took over, and then he became, like, Lex Luthor Brainiac hybrid, and this craziness. But I really enjoyed season 2, because it went back, because season 1 was kind of, like, government conspiracies and backstabbing and all that. Kind of like Tom Clancy kind of stuff, which I like and things, but it kind of lost its way as to, the traditional kind of superhero stuff. And so season 2, I think they really made up for that with, the Legion of Doom, where pretty much it was this big army of superheroes against this big army of supervillains and stuff, and then they're like clashing all over the world and things. So that was awesome. And and you got to see more characters from the earlier shows reappear, especially villains, and especially from Superman, the animated series. There was like, what was it, the Toy Maker? He was a creep. Parasite, Metallo, and a bunch of Superman villains. I don't remember how many Batman villains they brought back. So anyway, I've pretty much spent 15 minutes now describing all the shows that have spawned from Batman the Animated Series. Oh, and there's also Static Shock, which was kind of like, it was vaguely related to the other DC shows. Like, it didn't really, they had like a crossover with Batman Beyond one thing. It's hard to explain. Yeah, it's weird. But anyway, yeah, I've kind of gone on for a bit of all the shows and movies that have spawned from the animated series. So you're pretty much getting a big picture idea of the effect of the animated series. And you see why I love it so much. Again, this show got me into Batman. It got me into, I probably wouldn't have nearly been as interested into superheroes, or at least DC Comics, if it had not been for Batman the Animated Series. Maybe I would have never even touched Batman. I don't even know. It's just had a really important impact on me. Just awesome, excellent show. I love it so much. My favorite cartoon show, one of my favorite shows of all time, and I highly recommend buying it on DVD. I don't know if it's on like Netflix and all those kind of video rental streaming things. I know I'm sounding like an old person now. And so yeah, we've been talking for 40 minutes. Well, I've been talking to myself for 40 minutes, and hopefully you've been listening for 40 minutes. This is kind of like a whole podcasty thing where, you can like listen to this in the background if you want. So yeah, it's pretty much wrapping up because, we've been talking for 40 minutes. I don't want to go on to a whole another hour. But you can see how much I love to talk about this show. Again, highly recommend Batman the Animated Series. See, I'm getting tongue-tied now. And all the Bruce Timm animated DC animated shows. And I know I'm saying Bruce Timm. There's a bunch of other people that help contribute to this, so don't think I'm being a dick and just recognizing him. All of them: Batman the Animated Series, The New Adventures of Batman, Superman the Animated Series, Batman Beyond, Justice League Unlimited, all of their associated movies and multi-part episodes and whatever you want to call it. All of them just awesome. Static Shock, I don't really care about Static Shock, sorry. I hope you've enjoyed this super long and super episode of To The Mancave. And in case you're wondering, give you guys a brief update on what videos you can expect in the future from this channel. If you've been waiting for Republic Commando walkthroughs, that's kind of been, I don't want to say postponed, because that sounds like it's like not going to come out for a month or something. It's been delayed temporarily because I have all these other great videos that I would like to bring to you first, including this one on the animated series, and my next To The Mancave will be on Star Wars. Yeah, so you can imagine how long I'm going to be talking about that, I swear, and why I love it. And after that, probably another pickups video or something this weekend, I don't know. Again, the weekend seems like so far away since we're in the middle of the week. And then Republic Commando, I'll be starting back up on that as soon as I get through all these other videos I want to do. So if you've been listening to me this whole time, well, I applaud you. I hope you can hear me clapping through the microphone. So thank you guys for watching. This is Jokerfit, signing out. Bye.